Now, way back in Brest at the start of the Tour, the organisers' decision to do away with time bonuses was a bit of a footnote, really, what with everything else that was swirling around the race. Going into the decisive phase of the Tour in the Alps, though, it was beginning to look like either a masterstroke of planning or a massive slice of luck. Either way, the race for the yellow jersey was closer than it had ever been. In fact, as close as it could possibly be, short of a dead heat. Stage 15 took the race out of France for the first and only time in 2008, up to the ski resort of Prato Nevoso.
The Tour had never been there before, but Cadel Evans had a winter recce in conditions of limited visibility and minus the heat he could expect in July. Still, the memory was stored in his legs, and his job was simple: mark all his rivals, Frank Schleck most immediately, but also Denis Menchov and Schleck's CSC teammate Carlos Sastre in 5th and 6th place respectively. Damiano Cunego in 14th was on home territory and would know the climb better than any of the other contenders. Andy Schleck, nearly 9 minutes down, was another CSC rider available for tactical deployment to put Evans under pressure. Stage 15, though, wasn't just about the final climb up to Prato Nevoso. 183 kilometres starting out from Embrun, it took the riders pretty much immediately into the Alps, with a massive climb that began barely 30 kilometres into the stage. The 2,774-metre Col d'Agnello, or Agnello, depending which side of the border you were standing on, would mark the Tour's entry into Italy. Then there was a third category climb, the Colle del Morte, and the final climb up to Prato Nevoso at 1,440 metres. Well, the weather no better at the start of the stage than it was when Cadel recce'd it. It made for a treacherous descent of the Col d'Agnello, and in fact interfered with the pictures from the camera bikes in the race. So this was as close as anybody got to seeing the crash that put out the 2006 Tour winner, Oscar Pereiro, who apparently went over the guardrail at the top of this hairpin bend and rolled down to the rail at the bottom of it. He went straight to hospital with a broken shoulder. Even on the flat there were problems, oil perhaps at this roundabout, where riders went down on both sides of the split, among them the third place man overall, Christian van der Velde. By the time the race hit the final climb, 3 survivors of an original 4-man break knew they were going to contest the stage win: Spain's Egoy Martinez of Euskaltel Euskadi, Credit Agricole's Australian rider Simon Gerrans, and Danny Pate of the USA and Garmin Chipotle. Behind them was a select group of contenders fighting it out for the yellow jersey, and the attacks were coming every couple of minutes.
As we head up to 5 kilometres to go, 3 of the 4 remain together. Martinez has tried twice to get away from these riders. Twice they've hauled him back. He may not have a third in him.
Well, I'm not sure that he does, and I tell you what, I take my hat off very sincerely to number 199, Danny Pate, who doesn't have the reputation of a climber like Simon Gerrans or Igor Martinez, but he's responded and he's present and correct all of the time. This now is the yellow jersey group. These are pretty much the heads of state of the Tour de France this year. Sammy Sanchez is slipping backwards.
He's back in the group, so we're now 10 as he goes to back. Carlos Sastre doesn't look so good anymore now. Frank Schleck is being set up by his brother at the front of the race to launch him perhaps for the finishing line. Remember, a second is a blink of the eyelid. That's all it is to steal the yellow jersey.
I was trying to pick up who the rider was from Liquigas. It's Roman Kreuziger, the rider who won the Tour of Switzerland earlier this year, and he's now moved himself up to the heads of state. Yes, you're right. I think Carlos Sastre has hit them very hard on a couple of occasions, and now he's been put into the red zone for a while. He needs to get himself sorted out if he wants to think about trying to attack again.
Just look at the acceleration there as we came to a halt with our picture of Alejandro Valverde. He looks across at Bernard Cole, who's turning out to be something of a revelation in this year's Tour de France in that blue jersey. Andy Schleck setting tempo now, trying to get Frank a little bit of a chance to recover. So too his other teammate, Carlos Sastre. So he's got to set the pace. Sanchez has found his legs again, and he comes up alongside Christian van der Velde, who is content at this moment to follow wheels. And I do not believe that van der Velde is in any trouble at all. He might well go near the end.
A little bit further down the slope here. This is the man that the majority of the Italian crowds will be shouting for, Damiano Cunego. I've absolutely no idea where he is currently, but the fact that he's alongside Sandy Casafil would indicate that he's maybe not at the front end of the race.
They've been split on the climb. They're in the second big peloton of the Tour de France right now.
Kirken.
Yes, and he's losing ground. This is not good for Kim Kirken. He started the day 7th overall. The former yellow jersey is under pressure at the back. He may be losing a few places today.
Danny Pate has decided he doesn't want to be subjected to the pacemaking of the two climbers now, so he's felt that the best thing for him to do is come up and set the pacemaking himself. And when you're not maybe the best climber in the group, that's sometimes the best thing to do, because you can set a pace which is comfortable for yourself.
Well, one thing's for sure, Alejandro Valverde has shed all of his problems of the Pyrenees. He's back in the race in the Alps here. I'm not sure he can make up time lost, but he can take stages. Look at the face of young Andy Schleck. This is for brother Frank. He's just riding till he drops.
Well, he's setting a massive big tempo for Team CSC. They really are a phenomenal team. I'm a bit concerned, Phil, about Carlos Sastre sitting second from the back of that group, because despite the two magical attacks he put in, he now seems to be in a little bit of difficulty. 3 riders at 4 kilometers to go. Martinez, Danny Pate and Simon Gerrans, and still you cannot really pick a winner.
The Group Maillot Jaune have halved the deficit, 7:30. They won't get them, though. At 4 kilometers to go, they won't be that far behind them, though, because the infighting is taking place. Still at the front is Andy. He can't go on much longer. And at second wheel is Valverde, then Bernard Cole, and then Kreuziger, Frank Schleck, Cadel Evans, Menchov, Sastre. They're all still there.
And the one man you forgot to mention, of course, Christian van der Velde, looking very comfortable. I think this is the kind of climb that suits Christian van der Velde here this afternoon. Evans on his own, but there's only one team that's got a multiple number of riders in there, and that's Team CSC. Van der Velde, 191 at the back, still pedaling very supplely and keeping himself in contact with the yellow jersey. I think when you're a guy like Christian van der Velde, you've got to pick a rider to try and follow. I'm amazed at how well Van der Velde is riding in the Tour de France this year, Phil. He really has become the revelation for the United States.
If he runs out of these Alps with a very close time loss to the leader, he can win in the time trial. He's very, very quick. Up front there, the 3 riders, I think, have tried their attacks and haven't had an answer. It might go down to the finishing sprint, which, of course, is very much uphill. As we go back here, the rider in the lime green, the only thing we're certain about, Paul, in that group, as we look at it, one of them will win the Tour de France in Paris. There's nobody else in this race.
Absolutely, one of those riders in the yellow jersey group, which has created this afternoon the first serious selection. But let's not forget, after this stage today, Phil, there's a rest day, and then there's 2 more vicious days in the Alps, and this race can turn upside down on any one of those occasions. The 3 leaders, look at Danny Pate here.
Well, he's strong.
He is extremely strong. He's riding well, and he's riding sensibly. He's waiting for the moves, he's waiting for the accelerations, and he decided, he looked at Simon Gerrans and said, well, I'm going to have a go myself and see if I can get rid of the Aussie, but he can't.
He lifts the pace. He's forced Simon Gerrans to get out of the saddle and close the gap, and he's just checked on him. And sometimes, if you're feeling strong, you let the rider think he's getting on, you kick again.
Martinez has got...
42nd, and yes, and he wasn't looking either, was he, Danny Pate? That wasn't an expense. That could have been an expensive move, but Pate has a lot of strength in these legs. He's going after Martinez. I don't know why he keeps on checking on Gerrans. Gerrans is a fighter. This man knows how to suffer, and he's trying to go back. Meanwhile, our other Tour de France is on the lower slopes, and Andy Schleck is pushing on as he tries to go clear now.
Well, Andy Schleck has taken off there because he's seen a little move going clear there, and I think Denny Menchov...
Oh, he's gone down. What did he hit there?
He just slipped on the road. Menchov was making his big move of the day, Phil, and he went down and his chain is off. Well, he's going to have to get himself back in. Just look at this. He just goes around the corner and it's so slippy.
There is no reason for that, I think. And in fact, I can look out the window here. The rain has just started, can you believe? And it's becoming quite heavy in the last few kilometres. And that was simply the grease on the surface of the road. Well, the riders saw that, but there'll be no waiting now.
Phil, that was a scary move by Denny Menchov. We knew this man was the silent mover, the silent man in the main field, waiting for the move. Just looking down to check and see if there's any damage to his bike, and he says, no, it's okay, I've got to get myself back into this event. But you can see now why Denny Menchov has been regarded as a dangerous bike rider.
Well, you don't deserve bad luck like that, but the rain has just started. It's just skimmed on the surface of the road here. It's caused a little bit of a regrouping of the boys here as Andy takes over the pacemaking. Brother Frank is down in the centre there. Valverde to the right, Cole to the left, Sastre to the back. They are all here.
Well, they're all here and they're all waiting. I'll tell you one thing, that Andy Schleck has got a fine pair of legs on him this afternoon, because he was immediately off in pursuit of the man from Russia who's just getting back into contact there. That's an indication that Denny Menchov, Phil, has got great form, but That was very sad for him to go down like that.
Well, we're still spread by exactly the same time gaps as when we started this race today. There is nothing in it. 57 seconds covers the top 5 men in the Tour de France. And if they finish like this, there will be no time differences again tonight. Andy Schleck wants brother Frank to come out and grab a second.
Well, there's Kreuziger in second position there, another young rider, a star for the future. But Andy Schleck too, I think, Phil, will come back to the Tour de France one year and quite possibly be a winner. There is Damiano Cunego trying to pull himself back into this bike race, but in fact he's losing place. He was with that group there, and I think that is the group of Kim Kirken, and the little prince from Italy is not going to win the stage this afternoon, and he's just suffering.
He's at 2.5 kilometres behind the yellow jersey group right now. It wouldn't surprise me if he stays in Italy, quite frankly, because he's not firing like we expected. These are the leaders locked in combat for the win as they head up towards the summit of the climb. Still Martinez doing the work. And just who is the strongman of this group?
Well, Alejandro Valverde looks concentrated, looks good.
That's the secret weapon, Kreuziger.
Yep.
He's going to be such a great cyclist.
He's going to be a great bike rider. He's lost himself a lot of time in the Tour de France this year, Phil, but it's only his first serious attempt. He started the day in 19th place overall. Now another acceleration coming from Andy Schleck, saying to them, take this one if you can, because I'm going to hurt you, men, and we're going to hit you again before the summit.
This is a rider who was dropped by the group, who fought his way back and went straight to the front and stretched them again. And he's put Sanchez in a little bit of trouble with acceleration. Still hanging slightly off his Carlos Sastre. He's not riding smoothly, number 11. But Christian van der Velde, he is still following. He's not under pressure.
Van der Velde, 191 in the white jersey there of Garmin Chipotle, looking very comfortable. He's alongside Cadel Evans. And right in front of Cadel Evans, Evans is keeping his eye very firmly on the red, white and blue jersey there of Andy Schleck.
Well,
Frank Schleck.
Yeah, the people on the side here, the Tifosi of Italy, are watching a yellow jersey really defend himself well on this climb. It's normally a pink jersey as leader of the Giro d'Italia, but not this time. The Tour's making its first to climb up here. The face of Andy Schleck has been superb. Kreuziger just licking his lips behind and is in no pressure at all. He's only 23 as well.
Well, at 2 kilometres to go, Phil, there are still 3 men in contact for the victory this afternoon. Danny Pate is trying to get the win for the United States of America. He looks across at Egoy Martinez to say, how are your legs, my mate? Can I beat you to the summit? In the yellow jersey group, though, they've got rid, I think, finally, of Sammy Sanchez, and there's another acceleration at the front.
And look at the back here, because Cadel Evans has got to grit his teeth right now. That is a very serious push by Menchov. That has hurt Cadel Evans, but he struggles and fights. He's looked over his shoulder, Menchov. He's seen the yellow in trouble, but he knows it's all coming back together again.
Well, that was a serious acceleration by Menchov, and I'm not a little bit surprised as to why he sat up, but it's allowed Cadel Evans to get himself back into this race. Bernard Cole there comes to the front, and he's now going to look for the acceleration, and that is a move that they need to respond to.
Well, we're looking at the real race to lead the Tour de France here. That is why our cameras are staying away from the men who are out to win the stage. We'll cut back by the time those riders get up the top. But right now, Cadel Evans and Frank Schleck, the 2 men likely to succeed, are both in a little bit of trouble.
The man who nailed back Bernard Cole there, in fact, was Alejandro Valverde. Now, that goes to show that Valverde is recovering as this race goes further forward. Sitting on the wheel of the yellow jersey now is Frank Schleck, and again the acceleration coming at the front, and this time again it's Denny Menchov.
And I think this time it's curtains for Andy Schleck, so they've lost a pacemaker. Cadel is on the whip end here. He's being flicked around at the back of this line. Menchov is advertising to everybody he's got the legs now, but Alessandro Valverde is simply superb, and on the outside now, a little move to just go to the head of the race.
Did you say that Andy Schleck was gone? Well, excuse me, he's just come back, and he's thinking about brother Frank, he's thinking about Carlos Sastre. This is an unbelievable team.
Kim Kirken trying to get back up into competition here.
He's around about a minute in arrears off the back end of the yellow jersey group. There is Efemkin, he's been dislodged. Cyril Dissel is in this group as well. Sandy Kassar just getting onto the back there as well. That looks like Fofanov.
It is Dimitri Fofanov. They are fighting, though, a little way down here. This is a duo battle. We'd like to see what's happening with the leaders. We're, of course, in the hands of our French direction here. We don't know of anything that's going on up front at the moment, but we will see them cross the line, I'm sure about that. We're looking here at the battle for the next wearer of the yellow jersey, nodding like the dog in the proverbial car window. Bernard Cole is trying again to answer. Where does Andy Schleck get this from?
Well, he gets it from the fact, Phil, that he was a white jersey winner of the Giro d'Italia last year, second overall. He's got the ability to climb. He's hit them and hit them again, and he's trying to set something up. And look at this. Frank Schleck has seen the move now, and as soon as Frank Schleck gets to the wheel of his brother, he accelerates, but Cadel Evans is pinned to the back wheel of the man who is 1 second ahead of behind him in the overall classification.
Well, this is the group that's racing approximately 6 minutes behind the leaders. Let us not forget that. We're coming up to 1 kilometre to go. There they are. These are the 3 leaders of the day today. None will pull on the yellow jersey tonight. There is the kite for them, and Danny Pate is going to take them to the kite. The man who has looked completely fried for 100 kilometres seems to be extremely strong indeed. We are looking now further down the slopes, and this is another attack by Sastre.
Carlos Sastre is looking for the climb this afternoon. He's just about to get joined there, Phil, by Denny Menchov, covered as well by Bernard Cole. This man wants to win the Tour de France this year. He's put everything into the bank to try and win if he can. Finally, Andy Schleck goes to the back of the group, and they're having to put Cadel Evans onto the front. Evans is now in the defensive.
That's it, and he won't chase Valverde because Valverde's lost time. Now Cadel is looking for wheels. He's seen Frank Schleck go. He's got to chase Frank. 1 second splits them. Cadel Evans gets in the wheel of Christian van der Velde.
What a race this has been, Phil, and this is only the first of the Alpine stages. Look at the face here on Denny Menchov. He's trying to ride himself back into a top 3 position at the end of the day. Carlos Sastre is the man that set it up, but I tell you what, CSC are all over this race. Roman Kreuziger is the man now setting the pace ahead of Frank Schleck, and Cadel Evans is just pulling himself back into this. They have thrown everything at him this afternoon.
This has been a very tough time. There's a 1 second gap there right now. My opinion is Cadel should lose this yellow jersey and give it to Frank Schleck and live to fight another day. We've now seen Menchov is right into the red zone as well as he gets up behind Sastre. Sastre, he's the odd man out of the favourites. He needs some time gain now to start the long journey back. He can't ride the last time trial.
Well, Cadel Evans now is pretty much on the defensive, and again Christian van der Velde says, I'm going to go now. A lot of you can follow me if you can.
Well, there's some of the crowd up here on the finishing line as the 3 leaders head up towards the finish. No decision. Danny Pate of Garmin-Chipotle zigzagging across the road. Here comes the chase behind again. Menchov, Cole, Sastre, watch out. Valverde is creeping up. We've split it 4 and 4 here at the moment, and Christian van der Velde might be the saviour of Cadel Evans today.
He may well be. I think if you remember back to the climb up to Otakam, he was the saviour of Cadel Evans on that occasion too. Bernard Cole now comes out nodding that head of his in that strange gangly style to lift the pace once more. He's looking to improve on his 4th place overall at the start of the day, and he's not really looking for very much on Christian van der Velde.
They come up, they're about 1.5 kilometres behind the leaders of the race on the road today. That's how much they've closed up on what has become a totally personal battle between 6 or 7 men. The face of Sastre here. Every one of these riders today have dug into depths I doubt they ever knew they had.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, this is announcing that the next 2 days in the Alps are going to be very scary for the top 10 riders in the overall classification. Carlos Sastre has given his everything this afternoon, but we are not surprised to see the man in orange there, Denny Menchov, the Russian rider wearing 131. Cadel Evans finding some help here and assistance
at the finish. Danny Pate's broken, but look at the speed of Simon Gerrans. The Australian has left them all. They should have dropped him, because this is going to give Australia a terrific stage winners. Chased home by Martinez. A win for Simon Gerrans after 4 Tours de France. He snatches the first ever victory, and that is absolutely delightful from the man from Mansfield in the state of Victoria. And a terrific result for Danny Pate. An all-day breakaway, and the USA rider gets 3rd.
Well, that was a brilliant performance by Simon Gerrans. After all, Phil, he was dropped at the start of the day, climbed his way back into the leading group of 3 and came up with a sprint. Now it looks to me as if Cadel Evans has been on the ground here this afternoon, because you can see a little bit of dirt on his elbows. There is Christian van der Velde just trying and fighting to stay in contact. They're getting some assistance here finally from a pacemaking that's been done by Sammy Sanchez.
Well, they've thrown everything at one another and they're almost neutralised here. Sammy Sanchez is trying to get up to them and help them out. Bernard Cole, Denny Menchoff, Sastre and Valverde. None of them will affect the race destination tonight, but they're closing the gaps on Evans. He will note that.
Well, Bernard Cole in the blue jersey there, Phil, is looking for 46 seconds. That's all he requires at the end of today. And he's got with him the man who is just behind him in the overall classification, Denny Menchoff. I'm not surprised to see now a little bit of backing off there by Andy Schleck. He's done a great job. Christian van der Velde still in contact here, first, second and third in the overall classification at the start of the day, but now it's Roman Kreuziger who's setting the pacemaking there for Cadel Evans, still in the yellow jersey.
5 riders at 1 kilometre to go now. The race is on to see who will be the next wearer of the maillot jaune. Carlos Sastre has to take time in the Alps, he has to, and Valverde has to take lots of time, but he wanted to do well, he wanted to prove a point today. He's the Spanish champion.
Alejandro Valverde will ride himself possibly back into the top 10 at the end of the Tour de France stage this afternoon, and he's got with him Denny Menchoff. Phil, this is a great battle here, and there is the yellow jersey trying to keep it on his shoulders, and I'm looking at my clock here. He's already lost himself under the red kite, Phil, 33 seconds. So he's only just holding on to the yellow jersey ahead of Bernard Cole.
Well, my opinion, it'd be better if Cole took it away from him and took off a little bit of the pressure here, because the men that he really fears, I think, are around him, with the exception of Menchoff, who is gaining time. And there goes Cole again, and this could be for the yellow jersey.
Well, Cole knows this, Phil. He knows he is so close to the yellow jersey here this afternoon. He's looking for 46 seconds. That's all he wants. He doesn't care about finishing 5th or 6th or 7th on a stage like this. And look at Carlos Sastre. He too is pulling himself back up there. And Alejandro Valverde is riding like the true Spanish champion that he is this afternoon.
Well, Carlos Sastre is 1 minute 28 behind Cadel Evans. He needs time, and he started to get it by the look of it. 500 metres to go. Cole surely must realise now he could be a yellow jersey wearing the Tour de France. That has never happened to him before. Don't worry about the time count, because that is the time on Simon Gerrans, who's been home for 3 minutes. Cole, Sastre, Valverde's tracking a little bit.
Well, Cole gets out of the saddle again, Phil, over this final steep part of the climb. He doesn't have to worry about what position he's going to be this afternoon. He has to worry about the clock and what the clock is going to tell him. And once he's crossed the line, start your clock and try and count for 46 seconds, because that's what it's all going to be about at the end of the day. Has Cadel Evans and the group behind got any power left to try and pull back the gap that he had?
Menchoff has been placed in serious trouble here and might go back to the Cadel Evans group, because Bernard Cole, who's threatened to do something, he is most certainly now the new leader of the King of the Mountains, and the clock may also make him the new leader of the Tour de France. He's going all the way to the line. It is a case of every second counts, and Sastre is also gaining time. This race today has not opened up. It is completely closed down. We are still talking about a matter of seconds, and now 44 will do.
49 it's going to have to be. There is Alejandro Valverde going in. Look at the clock at the bottom there. It's 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Cadel Evans has to cross the line, Phil, inside of 4 minutes and 49 seconds if he's going to keep the yellow jersey. Here is Menchoff. He's been tailed off as well on the run-up towards the finish. Cadel Evans now in the yellow jersey is battling to keep that yellow jersey on his shoulders.
He has gone, and he only needs a second over the yellow jersey, and that is a second at least there. Cadel Evans knows he's fighting now to keep yellow, and it's a desperate moment. Schleck crosses the line. Well, the second's gone now, so there's certainly a new leader in the Tour de France, and you know Cadel Evans could well be sitting tonight in 3rd place behind Bernard Cole as well.
He was, and let's prove it. Here are the finish times that mattered on stage 15. Bernard Cole was first home among the big names, having started the day 46 seconds behind Evans and 45 behind Schleck. Frank Schleck, though, lost only 38 seconds to Cole, and he, of course, needed only 1 second over Cadel Evans. Evans finished 9 seconds behind Schleck, 47 behind Cole. Program the maths, and this is the result. Frank Schleck, the new leader of the Tour, by 7 seconds from Bernard Cole, with Cadel Evans now 3rd, another second behind. And too fast full stop as it turned out for Cadel Evans. Big changes at the top at the end of the first day in the Alps. Schleck, Cole, Evans, the new 1-2-3 as we've said, and more significant changes behind them. Dennis Menchoff gaining time and up to 4th despite his crash. Christian van der Velde down from 3rd to 5th, although only a second further off the lead than he was at the start of the day. And Frank Schleck's teammate Carlos Sastre also moving into contention. The top 6 in fact separated by just 49 seconds. Further back, Alejandro Valverde in 9th had gained a little time but lost a valuable teammate. Damiano Cunego was 15th but too far back to pose a real threat. Andy Schleck up to 17th but a few more seconds down after his efforts on behalf of his brother. And 2 British riders left in the race now. David Miller 51st at 52 minutes 37 and Chris Froome 95th at 1 hour 37 minutes. In the other competition, Bernhard Kohl, as well as being 2nd overall, had taken over at the top of the King of the Mountains classification. Oscar Freire was looking the hot favourite to take the green jersey in Paris. And the leading young rider was Italy's Vincenzo Nibali.